Hey there, welcome back once again. It is time for the Golden Age of DC Comics, 365 days, where I take this well-loved hardcover coffee table book given to me about 2 decades ago by one of my best friends. It has been surfing my coffee table ever since and has been a constant source of comic book shop style conversations, the kind that I wish to recreate here today with you right now. If you love comic books as much as I do, then you are at the right time, at the right channel. Let's talk. You are part of this conversation. You can leave comments in the comment section, and we continue these conversations. We really do. The Golden Age of DC Comics runs between 1938 and 1955. The Bronze Age begins in 1956 and runs until 1970. The Silver Age between 1956 and 1970. Sorry about that. The Bronze Age, I'm a Bronze Age baby, is between 1970 and 1985. And the Copper Age begins in 1985. I know this because I use the Overstreet Price Guide's glossary. I feel this is a great standard to have when talking about the ages of comics. We can agree upon some standards, can't we? Is Overstreet an agreeable standard to have in this conversation? I'd like to know. If you object to that, let me know in the comment section. Continue the conversation. Indeed, 2 other books that I always suggest as well, besides that, to anyone watching. Understanding Comics: The Invisible Art by Scott McCloud. Wonderful, wonderful book. You'll learn so much, just as I did. And a book that I used to have when I was a kid. I just got a new copy of it. It's this is really fun. And it's just an insight in how the sublime art of drawing a comic book panel. What goes into it? What about perspective? What about fluid versus like a fluid image that has power behind it versus something that is drawn, could be drawn better. So yeah, this is a great part of the conversation. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I use this book for its intended purpose. It's a 365 days book. We open to today's date, which is September the 10th. We're going to look at some comic book art from an Antediluvian age. We're going to read the blurb, and then we're going to talk about comic books. And we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. Alrighty. And what goes great with a hardcover coffee table book? Pulling up to the coffee table. Bring your own cup of whatever you'd like. We're going to talk about comic books. Let me wet my whistle. And we're going to talk about Superman's best friend. Superman's pal. Superman's co-worker as well. Or Clark Kent's co-worker. It's Jimmy Olsen. Story by Otto Binder, pencils by Kurt Swan, inks by Ray Burnley from Superman's Pal number 3, January-February of 1955. So this is one of the last new superhero titles of the Golden Age. Because the Silver Age will begin 1 year from this in showcase number 4. And the introduction of Silver Age Barry Allen, the new Flash. And here we have the story of the boy billionaire. Yes. What if you were suddenly given $1 million? It would be quite a thrill, wouldn't it? Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal, thought so too. But the young cub reporter learned that sudden wealth can also mean plenty of headaches, as you yourself will discover when you see how Jimmy became the boy millionaire. Dun, dun, dun. Jimmy, this wardrobe must have cost a fortune. Superman, it's mere pin money. I must do some real shopping for clothes or I won't have a decent thing to wear. Wah, 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 wah. Look at that. Look at the opulence. Look at the hats. He's got a monogrammed robe. Let's read the blurb, and we're going to find out a little bit more about Jimmy Olsen. It is September the 10th. Superman isn't usually thought of as having a comic sidekick, but perhaps I live down the street from a firehouse. Be well, firemen. Be well. And yeah, come back safe, please. Superman isn't usually thought of as having a comic sidekick, perhaps because Cub reporter Jimmy Olsen was a fairly realistic character compared to his more cartoonish colleagues. And yet, because he was so convincing, Olsen became the greatest sidekick of them all, actually earning his own comic book that ran for 163 issues. Much of his popularity was due to his appearance in Superman's TV series of the 1950s, portrayed by Jack Larson. In fact, this story looks suspiciously similar to one that appeared on the small screen. Olsen's Millions. Oh, wow. So instead of the TV ripping off the comic book, it's the comic book ripping off the TV. Sometimes that happens. And we're going to talk about, actually, Jimmy Olsen's origin, because he didn't start in the comic book. A lot of this is one of the reasons why I love doing this show. It's because I'm learning more and more about this character. And here we go. He was an unnamed office boy with a bow tie, and he appeared in the story Superman's Phony Manager, appearing in Action Comics number 6, November of 1938. It was retroactively considered to be Jimmy Olsen's first appearance. The character was first introduced as Jimmy Olsen by producer Bob Maxwell on The Adventures of Superman radio show on April 15th, 1940. After 8 early unnamed appearances in comics, Olsen first appeared as a named character in a story by Siegel and Schuster titled Superman vs. the Archer in Superman number 13, November-December of 1941. Yeah, so Jimmy Olsen started in the radio show, and also so did the K material, which became kryptonite. Yeah, so isn't that cool? So one has influence on the other. Now we live in the age of there are superhero movies and television shows and fantasy ones too, and we're always struggling with the adaptation. Or some do, some like old invested fans and are very into more accurate depictions, while the needs of modernity overweigh the needs of storytelling. Or are they? Or are they telling good stories? See, I do something usually at the beginning of the show called the escapism caveat. It's where I balance out the needs of activism, advocacy, and agenda storytelling in our fictions over escapism, our need to forget about the world's problems just for a few minutes. So, but modern adaptations, have this this responsibility to portray in a modern manner, and that's as nice as I'll be to that. But Jimmy Olsen, comes from Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, which is a comic book that ran. Yes, it ran. And it ran so far away from September, October 1954 until March of 1974, spanning a total of 163 issues. And this is actually a big deal. Jack Kirby, one of the major forces at Marvel Comics, came over to DC Comics in 1970. It was like Babe Ruth signing with the Yankees from the Red Sox. No, actually it wasn't, because that had different circumstances. I don't think King Kirby was able to lift that team up into world championships, especially because of what he was given for work. This is when I'm reading this from the wiki. When Jack Kirby began working at DC in 1970, Kirby himself insisted on taking on this title, since it was the lowest selling in the publishing line and without assigned talent at the time. so he would not cost someone their job. Kirby's first issue of Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, was issue number 133 in August of 1970, and it made a very clear break between the old style and the new. During this run, Jack the King Kirby, introduced many memorable characters, notably the fourth world's new gods, Darkseid, Project Cadmus, and Transylvane. He also reintroduced the Newsboy Legion, and the Guardian, two sets of characters that we talk about enough on this particular program. We really do. Oh boy. Kirby left the series with issue 148 in April of 1972. And why am I bringing up Jack Kirby? Well, this is what I'm talking about today. Oh, Wolf! Oh. This is the Fourth World Omnibus. Oh, wow. From DC Comics, and this collects all of Jack Kirby's work. When he made his famous foray into his distinguished competition. And, yeah. There we go. He did all these crazy things of the 70s, and it's a real trip. He even had this 2-issue crossover starring the comedian Don Rickles. And it's really weird, but it's I take it or leave it. I mean, there's a huge conversation about the hip hop artist Megan Thee Stallion appearing in an episode of She-Hulk. I mean, celebrities have been having cameos in comic books all this time, so it is consistent with source. That's modernity, and I can see those two getting along. Sure, why not? Yeah, exactly. She-Hulk, it's not made for me, seriously. But I just want to say, okay, a lot of people in the fandom, in my culture, they love these omnibi. That's the proper plural of omnibus. I mean, but dude, oh my God, this book weighs 9.6 pounds. It is so thick and heavy. It is so uncomfortable to read in bed, at bed at night, trying to read something before bedtime. It is so heavy, and it can't rest on your chest as a paperback does, and you can't bring it on the subway or on your commute to read, because it's literally 10 pounds of dense block. It's no joy to bring to the pub. I do not bring this to the pub to read. I bring normal size, normalish kind of books. I guess, like, here's the book I'm reading this summer. Like, I've read this summer. It's I brought to the pub. This is it's a thick book, but it's a paperback. It's light. I mean, you could fit it in your bag. You know what I mean? This is impossible to read, and I'm not even talking about the content. The content itself is befounding because it's Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby doing his Jack Kirby thing. We got Kirby dots. We've got mythical we got new myths, and we've got the Marvel magician Jack the King Kirby coming to DC Comics as well. And it started in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and that's what we're talking about today. One of the last comic books of the Golden Age. And a reason for me, like, you know what? I've experienced my first omnibus, and after my experience here, and it was quite a romance, but I'm no longer omnibi curious. Wah 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 wah. Waka waka. Oh, gee. All right, let's end on that note, okay? You have a great day. We've been talking about comic books, and we're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. So tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern, and we'll find out who we're talking about when we turn the page tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. I would love to earn your subscription. We make daily content here. We talk about comic books. We've talked about comic books every day so far this year. We're going to talk about comic books every day for the rest of the year. There's a playlist for that. Check it out. I'm an ordained minister, an amateur theologian, a spiritual guy. We talk about spirituality, gratitude, and purpose. We talk about cooking. I'm a professional chef. There's a playlist called What's Cooking. Check it out. I would love to be part of your daily YouTube experience. If you'll have me, I'll have you. And you're a guest here. Please pull up a chair. You have a great day. God bless. Namaste. Good luck. And we will see you again tomorrow in the funny pages. See ya. Bye-bye.